Hello everyone, my name is Tim Mitchell and I'm from the Counter Threat Unit at Sophos. I'm going to talk to you about the developments we've seen in the ransomware landscape over the last year or so. In February 2024, international law enforcement, led by the UK's National Crime Agency, or NCA, undertook what turned out to be the first phase of disruption activity against the Lockbit ransomware as a service scheme under Operation Kronos. This involved taking down a Lockbit leak site and infrastructure, but also added a key element, causing reputational damage. It was clear that the NCA wanted to harm the Lockbit brand and discourage affiliates from working with the group in future. Now, Lockbit was the most prolific of all name and shame ransomware schemes, and the NCA determined that nearly 200 individual affiliates were working with Lockbit to encrypt environments and steal data to extort their victims at the time of the initial takedown. And as the operation progressed in phase 2 in May and then phase 3 in September, it was increasingly clear that the number of affiliates working with the scheme had dropped significantly and that fewer organizations globally were being targeted with Lockbit ransomware. Shortly after the first phase, another ransomware scheme, this time called Black Cat, was shuttered by its operators in what appeared to be an exit scam, when they apparently stole a large ransom payment from an affiliate and promptly disappeared. And Black Cat was also a prolific ransomware scheme whose public victim numbers were second only to those of Lockbit. And the leak site data from 2023 shows just how dominant both of these schemes were, collectively accounting for nearly a third of all listed victims. So what happened when they were severely disrupted? The impact on the Lockbit and Black Cat schemes was obvious. Black Cat stopped listing victims immediately, while Lockbit, after a surge in numbers in May that were mostly reposts of old victim names, steadily tailed off to its lowest ever levels, regularly posting victim numbers in the single digits. But what was the impact on the wider ransomware landscape? How was the cybercriminal community more broadly impacted? Well, what we saw overall initially was no real reduction in the number of victims being named across all the leak sites we monitor. In fact, as 2024 progressed, we saw a steady increase in the number of victims being named. And alongside this, we saw more and more new ransomware schemes entering the market. In the 9 months prior to the first phase of Kronos in February 2024, 57 unique groups posted victim names to leak sites. In the 9 months after Operation Kronos, this figure grew to a total of 85 groups. And each month we saw more schemes naming victims. And we also saw these and other schemes increasing the volume of their victim naming as former Lockbit and Black Cat affiliates moved across to those schemes. And we can see that most of the top 5 groups operating since the Lockbit takedown increased their share of the number of named victims. Ransom Hub, Akira, and Killin were all apparent beneficiaries of the law enforcement disruption efforts. But does this mean that ransomware activity overall is increasing? Well, not necessarily. As ransomware groups only name victims when they have not paid, this could easily indicate that such operations have become less effective, resulting in fewer victims paying ransoms. And this was clearly also a goal of Operation Kronos. The intended reputation damage was not just about putting affiliates off working with Lockbit, but also about putting victims off paying ransoms. And the NCA emphasized on numerous occasions that the decryption tools offered to victims on payment very often didn't work, and that data was not deleted as promised. So what we are seeing now is increasing fragmentation in the ransomware landscape. Affiliates are not only spread across a larger number of schemes, but we are also seeing more ransomware attacks conducted by independent operators who don't affiliate with any established scheme. Rather than using dedicated leak sites and negotiation portals, these threat actors detail the extent of their compromises in ransom notes and then invite negotiation over email. Getting paid at the moment is clearly a challenge, and it's widely reported that ransomware payments are falling, and we are seeing an evolution in tactics to increase pressure on victims to elicit payments. Some groups are now offering research and data analysis services to other cybercriminals who are struggling to extort payment from organizations they have already victimized. And this openness to work with other threat actors is reflected in changes to other ransomware as a service offerings, with some groups now effectively renting their infrastructure and tools to anyone willing to pay for them. In short, in a competitive market with diminishing returns, ransomware groups are adapting to increase their chances of profitability. And groups are adapting their TTPs. Many are relying more on the use of legitimate remote management and monitoring tools for remote access and lol bins to conduct stealthier operations in order to defeat the malware detection capabilities built into endpoint and network monitoring tools. Some groups, such as Blackbuster, have used innovative techniques to gain access, such as socially engineering users through Microsoft Teams by purporting to be IT help desk staff. In addition to adopting long-established preventative measures such as patching internet-facing services, robustly applying multi-factor authentication, and deploying network and endpoint monitoring, it is therefore important that network defenders rely on the latest threat intelligence to protect their environments from new techniques.